Okay friends, it's time to get started on our passenger side door lock actuator. To do this, we're going to have to remove this entire plastic door panel. To start that, we're going to come right up here. There should be a plastic panel on there. Typically all I would want to do is just carefully get in between with a plastic trim tool, pop it off. You're going to find that it has a push clip right along this area, down a little lower. You can pull it out, give it a quick inspection, set it aside. Ours is missing. The next thing that I'm going to do is make my way down to this area here. I'm going to use a plastic trim tool once again because I don't want to damage anything. I just want to get in between this area and I'm going to gently start prying it away from the door panel. As I'm pulling this away, I want to keep in mind that it does have an electrical wiring harness behind it, so of course I don't want to pull it too much and cause any type of damage. Now we're going to have to pop this off of here. There should be a black tab that comes right over this area here. All you'd want to do is carefully get underneath that area, gently prying, and then you should be able to grab onto this and pull it right off. Every time you remove an electrical connector, you need to give it a quick inspection. If you see any funny colors, it's probably corrosion and you would need to deal with it. These look fine, so we'll continue. Now right behind this panel, you're going to find that you have one mounting screw that holds this door panel onto the door. Let's go ahead and use a 10mm to remove that. Now let's move down to this area with the window switch. We're going to go ahead and pop this off of here. Once again, we've got some wiring behind this area. For this one, there's a little tab where my index finger is. You can see I squeeze it, it lifts up that tab, unlocks it. We give it a quick inspection to make sure it looks good, and then of course set it aside. Now with all this out of the way, let's continue on by removing the door panel from the door. There's one more thing that I want to mention, and that's this right here. Some of these vehicles are going to have this, and of course it's going to have wiring that leads to the back. We'll remove that once we get this off of here, but be careful pulling the panel away so you don't damage the wiring. Let's continue on with our plastic trim tool, and we're going to have to make our way all the way around the door panel, in between the door panel and the door to separate them. All right, now looking at the back side of this, you can tell that I have plenty of slack. If you wanted to, you could just go ahead and rest this aside because we're going to be working in this area down along here. For me personally, I want to get it right out of the way so I have plenty of room to do this video. I'm going to continue on by removing this area here. Now for this, what you're going to want to do is squeeze along these two ears. You can see that they have a little unlock thing next to them. Now after you do that, you can take this blue tab, pull it over to the side, and then this should want to separate. Quick inspection, set your panel aside. Now with that out of the way, let's continue on by removing the vapor barrier. Up here I have a plastic push clip. You just want to get underneath it, carefully pry it away. Now as I start pulling this down, I want you to pay attention to this black area here. This is called butyl tape and it's extremely sticky. It'll get all over your clothes, and if you put it through the wash, it's going to get on everything. Just keep that in mind. Try to keep it off of your skin and your clothing. We'll set this aside. Now let's pay attention to this area up along here. These are the rods for your inside door handle and lock. Let's pop them out of their mounting points right here. Next, we're going to make our way up here to this 10mm headed bolt. Now at this point, I want to grab onto this. I'm going to give it a little slide towards the front of the vehicle. We should be able to pull it out. Let's come right over here. We're going to remove this bolt. This bolt holds the bottom of the window channel in place. We're going to need to have plenty of slack from this so we can get inside. Use a 10mm. All right, so now that we have that area nice and loose, let's continue on inside the door where that door lock actuator is located. Now the next thing that I always like to do is find my wiring. I'm going to go ahead and start disconnecting that. For the lower one, there's a little tab along the bottom. Carefully grab onto that, pull it down and away. Give it a quick inspection, we'll set that aside. There's going to be one more aspect of the wiring right up here. Goes up to the top. Grab the tab that's up along the top of that, pull it off, give it a quick inspection, set it aside. Now we're going to make our way to this area right here. We're going to remove this rod from the latch assembly. To do that, it's easiest using a pick. I'm going to try to come through from the back side. I'm going to grab onto the little ear that's located back there, and I should be able to pop this free. Now once that's popped out of there, you can grab the rod out of its place. Once that can move around, we can continue on. Now we're going to move along to this area out here. You're going to find 3 T30 screws that hold the latch to the inside of the door. Let's remove all 3. What I want to do here before I remove the last one is to just put one in a couple threads. That way there I can reach inside, hold that latch while I remove the last one. Now as we start pulling this out of here, you might notice it gets stuck on that window channel. If you just wiggle it around a little bit, it should want to pop right off. Now over on the bench, we can continue on removing the door lock actuator from the latch assembly itself. There's going to be two T10 screws that hold this in. They're very small and they're marked with yellow. I'm going to go ahead and remove the pair. Now we can take this and we can start pulling it out of there. What you're going to notice is you have this arm that comes down all the way to here. We just want to go ahead and pull it out of its position, take it up like that, and there it is, friends. Okay, friends, now we can get ready to install our brand new actuator. Something that I want you to pay attention to is this cog area right down along here. You can see several teeth. Now sometimes during shipping, this might end up being a little bit more like this. So all I want to tell you is to go ahead and turn this counterclockwise as far as you can so you can see the very last tooth. Now that last tooth needs to line up with this far area right along here. So just keep that in mind as we start putting this into place. As I bring it along the backside, I'm going to make sure that this ear right here lines up with its corresponding hole. Now I can swing this right up into position and we're going to watch those teeth to make sure they line up as well. As you can tell, I have my very last tooth on this cog lined up with the very last tooth on this one. Now we can insert our two T10 screws. Start each of them in before you tighten either. Double check to make sure it's completely secured and your cog is lined up. At this point, we can get back over to the vehicle. Now as we start putting this in the door, I just wanted to make a quick note. What you're going to see is this area along here needs to fit behind that window channel. So you're going to have to reach inside, wiggle things around, and you should be able to get it in. Once you do, we're going to put it all the way up against here, start in all three of our mounting bolts. Now that we've got the door latch in place, let's start in our mounting bolts. Once all of them are started, snug them up. That rod right into position. It should pretty much just want to set right in there. Once you feel as though you have it set in position, you can go ahead and tighten this down. There we are. Make sure you lock it in, give it a little tug to make sure it's completely secure. You don't want that to loosen up while you're driving down the road. Now we can do our two electrical connectors. I'm going to start with the top one. Listen for a click, give it a little tug to make sure that's secure. Now we can do the same to the bottom one. Click, double check it. Now once you've double checked everything inside to make sure it's completely secured, let's make our way out here. We're going to reattach that window channel. We'll put the bolt right in there, snug it up. Now we can start reattaching our inside door handle. Looking at the back side of it, there's going to be 3 hooks that I wanted to point out. There's also 3 holes in the door that they need to fit into. Once you line all 3 of them up, you can press this in, up against the door, and then slide it rearward. After that, let's get our mounting bolt reinstalled. Make sure it's secure. Make your way right down here, secure these as well. Make sure everything functions as it should. And the door's in the unlocked position. Now we can start getting our vapor barrier back on here. It should pretty much line up with its original position. Just go ahead and make sure that it's stuck on there well. If it isn't, you're going to want to try to use some tape or something that'll hold it in position. Of course, we have our push clip that goes up in this corner. We'll make sure that's in. Double check everything. And now let's grab our door panel. Let's get this connected in. Slide it down. Bring this up and over. You're going to notice it slides in even further. And then you want to hear a click. Make sure it's secure. That feels good. Now we're going to take this. We're going to mount it into the back of the door panel here. It should hold it secure for us. Now we can take the door panel, paying attention to this area up along here. That needs to actually fit up and over the ridge on the door. Keep that in mind. Bring this right over. Now what I'm doing is I'm pulling away the bottom as I push the top forward and up against this. Now we want to, of course, make sure we have our wiring up here. You don't want to miss anything when we go to reconnect. Now the next thing that we're going to do is pay attention to all the push clips that go along the inside of the door panel here and make sure that they line up with the holes inside the door. Carefully press it in. With your door panel secured, we can start reconnecting everything else. Let's do the window switch. Slide it in, listen for a click, give it a tug. After that, we're going to go ahead and put it in position and press it in. Make sure it's secure. And now we can move up here. We're going to put in our mounting screw. Now we can put on this trim panel. Install your electrical connector. Listen for a click. It should be locked in around this area here. Ours is broken once again. Now we're going to take this door handle. I'm going to give it a little tug, slide it through the hole. After that, you just want to make sure everything's lined up. Press it in. Now you just want to put on this little corner trim panel as well. Okay friends, we got everything back together. What's left to do now? Now you're going to want to go ahead and shut the door and test the door lock to make sure it functions properly. Thanks for watching.